This slideshow covers how to write a college-level comparison essay. It covers what was taught on Friday, April 5th and Monday, April 8th, 2019 in class. The first thing to know is that most college essays aren't as simple as what you may be used to. Most comparison essays taught in public schools generally are rather pointless. Here's an example. This compares a Kissy, Hershey's Kissy, and a Jolly Rancher. A Kissy and a Jolly Rancher, begins the essay, have similarities, but they also have differences. They have a similar size and sweetness, but they have different texture and wrappers. The first sentence here is meaningless. It goes without saying that two objects are similar and different. If you thought about any two objects long enough, you'd realize that there are both similarities and differences, so it's worth striking. The second sentence is a typical thesis sentence for a comparison essay in many public schools. Here it may be fleshed out a bit more. The first body paragraph beneath there may be something like, Kissies and Jolly Ranchers are similar in size. You see how it reflects back on the thesis statement there earlier. The Kissy is 15 centimeters tall and the Jolly Ranchers is 19 centimeters. On it goes. The second body paragraph, similarly, Kissies and Jolly Ranchers have similar sweetness. But there's a pointlessness to all this. So what? We're comparing these things, but nothing's really being analyzed. It's just sort of a mindless exercise of what's similar and what's different. So read some material here from a college textbook on binder pages 253 through the first column of binder page 255. If you do not have those sheets, you'll find them in our Google Classroom. Go to bit.ly Google, I should say, bit.ly College Composition, and then click the link to our binder pages. Hard copies are also in class. Once you get those pages, and as you're reading those particular parts of the handouts, annotate for this. According to the authors, how can a comparison-contrast paper lead to new understanding? On the other hand, how can such a paper be pointless? The next thing to be on the lookout for. Why would ranking, focusing, and asking so what help? All right. And then bracket your two favorites among the 5 strategies for using comparison contrast in a paper. And they're on page 254. And in the margin, outline why they're your 2 favorites. Once you've done all that, pick which one of the 5 strategies on page 254 intrigues you the most. You'll be writing a paragraph with it soon. So, pause the video right now and do all that reading and annotating. Thank you. Welcome back. I'm sure you paused, and so you're back with us again. Now let's go over some answers to what you may have annotated. According to the authors, how can a comparison-contrast paper lead to new understanding? Here is a section that deals with that specifically from your reading. The biggest advantage of comparison-contrast and definition topics, the latter we're not dealing with here. And the reason that they get assigned so frequently is that they press you to understand different parts of your subject in relation to one another. As a result, you can understand each part more clearly. And number 2, you can understand that the various parts of your subject are divided or connected. So you gain insight from this sort of activity if it's done right. Second, how can it be pointless? Because it can be, as we saw with the starburst example. Comparison-contrast topics, our reading says, produce pointless essays if you allow them to turn into matching exercises. That is, if you match different parts of the subject or common features of 2 subjects. But don't get beyond the equation stage. Writers fall into this trap when they have no larger question or issue to explore and perhaps resolve by making the comparison. And how would ranking, focusing, and asking "so what" help? Also from our reading, given that your response to comparison topics can suffer from an essential underlying problem, pointlessness, you need a point. In most cases, you can provide that solution by ranking the information. What's really important here? Where might it go? What does it point to? Focusing it, and then asking and answering the question, so what? And then the 5 strategies, as it goes on to say, are really sort of an elaboration of those 3 things: ranking, focusing, and asking, so what? Now I'd like to do a quick exercise involving strategy 3, which is to use one side of the comparison chiefly to illuminate the other. In other words, deliberately being unfair to one of the 2 sides that you're looking at. If you think about the paper that we went over, the research comparison paper involving my trip to France, when I asked someone and asked everyone in class what was the paper about, students said it's about the French language and how the French wish to protect it. And that's correct. And I said, yet it's a comparison paper. What's being compared? And then they realized that while the point was really all about France, I was comparing the French with the English-speaking countries, the United States and England. Both of those countries kind of grouped together. But while the paper really wasn't about those 2 countries, it was I used those 2 countries to illuminate my true subject, which was French. So, please bracket my essay on pages 229 through 236. Bracket one color for France and French, and another color for England and the United States and English. And then check out, once you've done that, the approximate percentage of your bracketing. How much of the essay covers French and how much of it covers English, more or less, in percentages. And look at those 2 colors, and yeah, you'll probably end up bracketing everything in the entire essay. So I'll pause again for you to do this exercise. Welcome back. Well, you may have seen that it's about 70-30-ish. 70% of the essay involves French and 30% English. I'm really using English chiefly to illuminate French in strategy 3. So what we'll do is write 2 paragraphs. People who were in class had a different activity, slightly different activity. They completed it in class. If you didn't, or if you were not in class, then do this exercise instead. Write 2 paragraphs in the Google Doc that has your name on it, that you'll find in our Google Classroom assignment. In the first paragraph, compare and contrast 2 of your favorite musical bands, or compare and contrast 2 fruits, your choice of both topics and fruits and or bands. So yeah. Then, once you've chosen either 2 bands or 2 fruits, brainstorm. Consider each band by thinking about its music, tours, art, fan base, etc. Anything about it, lyrics, style, genre. Or consider each fruit by its shape, size, color, smell, weight, thickness, texture, taste, etc. And then, once you've brainstormed a bit, write your paragraph, making sure that it applies your chosen strategy. That's the big point here. Which was the favorite of the 5 that you wanted to focus on here? For a little guidance on how to do it, reread the example that's part of your assigned strategy. Your paragraph may also apply other comparison strategies, of course, but focus on the one strategy you choose. Your paragraph should be at least 70 words long. This paragraph can be far-fetched. No problem at all with that, as you'll see in an example fairly soon. And you can draw conclusions that are a stretch for sure here. And then the second paragraph, beneath that 70-plus word paragraph, in a new paragraph, explain how your first paragraph uses your chosen strategy. Which of the 5 strategies did you choose, and how did you apply them in that paragraph? This second paragraph, should be at least 30 words long. So an example here. Oh, of course, once you're done, click Turn In, and it'll go right into the correct place in our Google Classroom. Now, an example. A sample paragraph for strategy 1, done by 2 students in class here. They decided to choose strategy 1, which is to discuss revealing similarities and differences, ones that answer so what. Unlike your example, it involves candy. So you can kind of read that one and see how at least 2 students decided to apply one of the 5 strategies. That's it. Please read the material very carefully in the 2 handouts, because we did so in class and I'm not taking the time to reiterate a whole lot of it here. Thanks a lot.